Okay, David, a 2-0 win at home to Bootle. After the last few games, it's a massive 3 points in the context of the game, but it's got to be a relief as well.
Yeah, and there was a lot of surprise in your voice there, Nathan. I'm not sure if that's the win or scoring goals, but there's a lot of surprise in your voice. It's a huge relief. So when I did the interview to say I was leaving at the end of the season, I talked about leaving the club in a better place, and I was still worried that I was going to leave in the North West Counties. So I think that win means that possibility is now off the table, thankfully. And we've not played terribly over the last few weeks. I thought last week we were okay off and puff, but could have been 2 up after the first 15 minutes. Thought against Wythenshawe we weren't great, but we created chances, and that's the problem. We've created chances and not scored them. Today we did. That's the big difference. And delighted for Eric. I thought we controlled the game as well. I don't remember Finn making a save today, and that's pleasing. We worked hard in the week. We had a really good training week. We worked on some very specific things. And the players executed it, and that's probably the difference that they've executed. As a coaching team, I think we doubled down this week in terms of what we did, and the players took it all on board and executed it perfectly. So, yeah, very pleased, very relieved. It means we can go into the last 4 games now with a little bit more kind of pressure off us, and some really good games. We're playing first, second, and Staley Bridge, so they're 3 really good games to go into with an ability to enjoy them.
Before we look at the game, bit of a different feel on the bench today with Alex. Obviously wasn't here. His wife's had an operation, so just obviously wish her well and the family well, and hopefully be back next week.
I've spoken to Alex, and she's recovering, but recovery is slow. It's a major operation. I think people dismiss appendectomy, and people dismiss that as a bit of a routine operation because it happens regularly, but it's a big op, and everything you do is using your stomach and your core, and you can't, and they've got 2 kids and it's hard work. So Alex was looking at every possibility of getting here, including children strapped to his front and back and all sorts of things. That's the kind of person Alex is. But common sense prevailed. I counselled him that wasn't a good idea either, and he stayed away. But I know he was listening to it on the radio, or trying to listen to it on the radio. But we wish Laura well. She's on the road to recovery, and hopefully that means Alex will be back soon. But we've talked about this a lot. This thing's more important than football. Family's way more important than football, and it's the right thing that he's there for Laura and the girls.
And then on to the game. So a couple of big calls today for you. So I guess first of all we knew G wasn't going to be available for today, but Mason not in the squad today through injury.
Yeah, an interesting one. So Mason phoned me at about 9:45 this morning to say he'd had to book an emergency dentist to go and have a tooth out, but so he might be a little bit late. I was like, Mason, you won't be fit to play. And he's like, no, I'll be fine, Gaff, I'll be right. And about 12:15, he sent me a WhatsApp saying, I've just had it done, I don't feel too good. It's funny that. So yeah, he was Mason went home, sent him home. There's no way he was driving up here. So it meant we had to shuffle the pack a little bit. But the beauty is we've got players who are hungry to come in, and so it meant Joe could play in his position he prefers to play in more. It meant that Sean got to start, who deserves to start. I think Sean's been excellent. So yeah, it worked out in the end. I think the players that came in were superb. I think they really were. And Mason now has got to work his way back in. It's unfortunate, but that's football.
Yeah. And then your other big call was Adam Sherritt sat out today, and Gidi Varela started his first game, so his first start for the club, and hard to argue that he was one of the best performers on the pitch today as well.
Yeah, I thought Gidi was superb. So Gidi's been really unlucky. He came into us in August time, so it was after pre-season, so it was really difficult to see him in games, and it's always one of those gambles where he trains well, but it's different when you're in a game. He came on at Linnets, and first thing he did was really good, and then he kind of gave the ball away a couple of times, and you're like, oh, I'm not sure. But he continues to come through, he's continued to work hard, he's trained incredibly well. None of our wingers want to play against him in training. It's interesting that whenever you put him into a back four in whatever session you're doing, he normally gets the best of your wingers, and we've got some decent wingers. I thought Adam had just been off the boil a little bit in the last couple of games, so gut was after this training this week, and Gidi had been superb, was to go with Gidi, and he didn't let me down. I thought he was brilliant against Ben Hodgkinson, who is an excellent winger, and then when they changed shape a little bit, and Kenzie O'Neill, who's also an excellent footballer, he didn't really get much change from him. He's fast, he's tenacious. I thought he showed a lot of composure on the ball. Did really well, and credit to him. He's turned up, he's trained, he's been at every session, he's been at games when he hasn't been in squads, home and away, and it's nice to. It was nice to see him when he gets his chance go and take it. So superb and repaid the faith I showed him.
Yeah, definitely. I guess the other one that stood out today was probably the shape. You changed the shape today, different formation for us with almost a diamond and two up top. So, what was the thought process behind that?
Can't score goals. So if you can't score goals, one way that you can try and change that is to get more bodies around the box. So I wanted to get two. Me and Alex spoke last week, and we both kind of mulled it over. Alex came up with an idea, a plan of what that shape could be and what the 11 could be, and we've used diamond before. It's a system that both Alex and I are comfortable with, and we know how to coach, and that's what we worked on in the week. And we just worked on what we do in possession, mainly what we do in possession, and a little bit on how we kind of press and how we work out possession, but a lot of what we do in possession, how we get bodies forward and get bodies in the box, and it worked there. I mean, the first goal came from a good press. You know, the first Joe and then Eric press, forcing an error. And then the second, there were plenty of opportunities where we got bodies in the right places, balls into the box. Really good example of that is the Obbs chance just into the second half that he pulled just wide. You know, it's a run from deep. It was a ball into the channel. It was all the stuff we worked on in the week. So it's pleasing when that happens. But I think it's a shape that suits us, and it just lets us get bodies forward. And I thought the front two were superb. I thought Obbs caused problems drifting wide, and I thought Eric led the line really well against two big, strong centre halves.
Yeah. And just on that one, so Eric, no doubt about it, man of the match today, was excellent, gets his 2 goals. How big is that, getting 2 goals today for him?
Yeah, he deserves goals every time he plays. He works so hard. Steve just said that in the man of the match presentation. That every time he goes on the pitch, you kind of want him to get a goal as a reward for the work he does. I think from our box to the 18-yard box, I think he's as good as you'll find in this league. In terms of his work rate, his movement, his graft, out of possession, he works hard. The number of defensive headers he makes for us on set pieces, and things that'll happen for him always in the box. Things rubbly green or lack of confidence or whatever it might be with him. But he had the confidence to go and take the penalty. We have two nominated penalty takers every game. He was one of them, and he went and took the ball and took control of that and took the penalty well, and that seemed to give him a lift. And the header was superb, and I was willing him to get a hat trick. He was unlucky. A couple of other little things, a couple of really good runs for half time, and didn't quite connect with it on his left foot. But I thought it was class today. And it's always pleasing when you see a player who is such a good bloke, such a hard working player, such a valued and liked member of the squad, and he got out and do something like that today. Won the game for us. It's great, and celebrated in here. Nice to celebrate. Not done that for a few weeks. Not heard that celebration song, and nice to see him get his applause in the bar as well.
Yeah, definitely. Special day for the club as well today. So I guess sort of last part of the questions really were you've been privileged, maybe that's the wrong word, but you've been fortunate that you've been here at a club where we recognise sort of the legends of the past, and obviously I can't remember us having a Legends Day where we've not won, so maybe we should have more of them, to be fair. But
I think Alex might be asking for 21 of those next season.
But how nice is it to see players come onto the pitch? This year as well, probably more notably, was that we had some of the older players, the Jimmy O'Connors and such, who've obviously contributed huge amounts to the club, but also players like Mike Fish, Tim Crane, who've been here today, who have contributed in more recent years.
It's brilliant. I talked about this before, and you were custodian for a brief period as a manager, as a director, and you're all hoping you can contribute to the history of the club and the players that you've mentioned. It's nice to see somebody my age, somebody my generation in Mike Fish coming along, and he did the Man of the Match award today, and still looked like he could play to me.
He does, yeah.
But it's nice to see players like that being recognised. I think he's quite humble, but somebody who scored 200 odd goals and 300 odd appearances for the club is definitely worthy of the word legend.
Yeah.
And I think it's nice to remember that where the club is and has been, and what they've achieved, and the players that have done that. And I didn't play for the club, one friendly many years ago, but I would hope that I might get it down to one of these Legends Days eventually as a former manager with a couple of 100 games under the belt, and not getting relegated probably helps that cause.
Yeah, so I guess last question really. It's nice to enjoy the celebration from today, but it's a quick turnaround. It's a week turnaround, but it's a big game on the horizon with top of the table Widnes coming to Steel Park next weekend.
Me, Phil and Johnny have just talked about this in the change room. Just thought about how we plan the next 3 weeks, and it's always a bit funny because you've got Easter in there and you've got a double header, and it kind of throws things out a little bit, particularly in a Friday game. So we were just thinking about how do we make sure we do things properly. We don't want the season to fizzle out. So we're in Tuesday, Thursday. We're going to prepare in the same way we did this week. We're going to work on what we need to do for weekend, and we want to spoil the party. I mean, Widnes can't win the league next week, but they can get one hand on the trophy if they get 3 points. So they come here with everything to play for, and we want to spoil that party. And then then we go to Edmondsford and can do Widnes a favour, and we want to try and finish the season as strongly as possible. We tend to be streaky. I'm hoping today is a little bit of a lift to start one of those streaks, and I'm hoping that today lifts a little bit of the pressure. I actually thought although we were under a bit of pressure and we had put pressure on the players about today and what today meant, the atmosphere was good, really good in training. The atmosphere was really good in the dressing room before. I think the players got it, and I think actually we're in a good place to kind of move forward, and it'd be nice to try and get through another four wins before the end of the season. That's the ambition. Widnes are a good side. It's not going to be an easy game, but that's true of every game we've played this season. When we're at it, we're good enough to compete with anybody and beat anybody. We've shown that when we beat Edmondsford here. We just need to make sure we do everything right in the week and we get that same mentality going into next weekend as we had today.
Thanks, David.
Cheers, Nathan.